What's up, guys? Welcome to a new video, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss another video from here on out. Guys, today we're talking all about glutes, how to make them grow. If you clicked on this video, you saw the title, and chances are you have been struggling to get those glutes to grow. And more than likely, if you're here, you are probably a lady. But fellas, let me tell you, it's just as important that we develop strong, round glutes as it is for the ladies, even for aesthetic purposes. So we're gonna take a dive into that. I'm gonna share some secrets with you today that most of your online fitness influencers are not sharing with you. So stick around, I've got some tips for you. Make sure you watch to the end, and let's grow those glutes together. Alright, so there's really three main things that we need to focus on when it comes to glute growth and leg strength, okay? Mindset, nutrition, and exercise selection, all right? So let's go ahead and take a look at mindset first. And when it comes to mindset, it's important to have the right mindset because you're going to have to decide that you're okay with lifting heavy weights and having confidence to know that you aren't just going to get huge and bulky, especially if you're a lady. I know that's a common concern for some women, is that they're worried they're gonna get a little bit large, or their muscles are gonna get too big and they're not gonna look feminine, or they're gonna look too manly. So you have to be confident in knowing for sure that that's not going to happen, because biologically, you're not designed to really get large muscles, okay? It's also important for the fellas though, because you have to be okay going into the gym and doing some movements that you would typically associate with programming that you might see a female doing in the gym. For example, glute bridges or hip thrusts, right? Typically you don't see a lot of men laying around on the floor, laying on the benches doing those movements, but those are definitely a movement that you're gonna have to be comfortable doing in the gym. And the biggest thing that you're gonna have to do, and this is whether you're a man or a woman, is you're just gonna have to let those insecurities go and let those fears go of how you look and what other people are gonna think, and really just get in there and do the work. So the second thing we're gonna take a look at being nutrition and eating properly. This is important to get out of the way because you really do have to be okay with eating more calories. So not just any calories, you want these to be good calories, calories that are gonna come in from whole foods. And we don't wanna just add fat when we get size. We wanna make sure it's the right type of size and growth. When you look at what most people are preaching online, it's like your fitness influencer types, you'll hear them talking about how they're eating 1,200 calories a day and they were able to change their bodies and get all this muscle growth with 1,200 calorie diets. It's not true, it's not true. All right, 1,200 calories is not enough to sustain proper nutritional needs, let alone be able to try and add muscle with only 1,200 calories. So increase your eating with more whole foods, and you'll continue to lose fat while you add some muscle, especially with placing emphasis on leg days throughout your programming. And then you can really focus on targeting glutes and your leg growth by adding those in 2 times a week, or hitting your glute specific exercises maybe 3 times a week and things like that. If you're on too low of calorie intake, it's just not going to be possible for you to have the strength gains that are necessary for you to start to add muscle to your glutes and your legs. The one thing that you guys are probably all here for is exercise selection. What exercises are gonna help me develop the biggest glutes in the gym so that I look extra hot in my bikini, or as a guy, look really good in my favorite pair of jeans when I go out on the weekend with the fellas. Exercise selection is super important. You can't just throw a random selection of movements together and expect that you're gonna get the right results. You also can't just go in and do like banded kickbacks and some fire hydrants and the hip abductor machine and walk away after a couple weeks and be like, I'm really not getting any glute growth and I don't know why. I'm doing everything that I've seen online. There's got to be a purpose behind your training program, and within that program, each workout should also be laid out specifically in orders for a reason. Okay, so there's got to be a good sequence in order for that to work. So if we take a look at the movements that should be incorporated to your leg day routines, I'm basically going to give them to you in an order that I would put them in importance from the beginning of your workout to the end of your workout. I'm going to put a couple example leg day routines that you can follow along with down in the description. So make sure you kind of scroll down a little bit, check out the description. I'm going to put a couple of them down there that you can try, follow through, so you get an idea of what I'm talking about when it comes to exercise order. So first thing we're going to talk about is going to be squats. Probably number one selection on everybody's leg day, squats. All right, those are really good for targeting your glutes, your hamstrings, your quads, along with a number of other muscles, but specifically in your lower body, it targets those muscles, okay? Barbell squat is probably gonna be the option that most of you are gonna associate with squats, and that's fine, and it's really good because it allows for the most amount of load on the bar and basically to put on your muscles. However, it's not necessarily gonna be the best option for everyone. I say that because some people may not be as experienced in the gym, and some people may have some imbalances that barbell squats wouldn't be the first thing I would recommend to you. And I don't know everybody's movement patterns either. So I would say squats in general, not necessarily just barbell squats. You can even do variations like a kettlebell goblet squat, where you hold the kettlebell up in front near your chest area, and it's kind of like a front loaded squat. Or you can even do bodyweight squats if you're brand new and you're like, I'm just starting in the gym, but that doesn't mean I don't want glute growth. By all means, do some bodyweight squats, and then reference the last video that I put up on how you can do progressive overload without additional weights, and take advantage of that using tempos, using pause reps and things like that. The second movement that we're going to take a look at is going to be your hip thrust, okay? So again, the hip thrust, great for hitting the glutes, great for hamstrings, and this one's also going to target your adductors. You can actually take a small ball or like a yoga block and place it in between your knees and apply pressure to that while you're doing your hip thrust. And just that little bit of added pressure is really going to activate those adductors, your inner thigh muscle. And so the hip thrusts are really great for that. Now again, barbell hip thrust is going to be the option that most people are familiar with. And when those are done properly, those are a great movement for targeting your glutes and like isolating the glute, but also the hamstring. You probably could argue that the hip thrust is just as good as a squat when it comes to encouraging growth in your glutes, and I wouldn't argue and tell you you're wrong. I would actually say they're probably like 1A, 1B, and it could go either way, but definitely want to include those in your leg days. And again, you have variations there where you can just do a bodyweight version of that. You can even do a banded version of that where you put the band over your hips. And something I really like to do is adding a band around the outsides of your thighs, so like around your knees. You do a few hip thrust repetitions, and then you're doing hip abductions where you separate that band. And those are really, really effective in targeting the glutes, especially like your glute medius. Third movement is going to be lunges. And again, there's a number of variations that you could do. You got walking lunges, you've got reverse lunges, you've got split lunges, which are one of my favorites, and even your side lunges. You need to have side lunges, I would say, included in almost every leg workout that you do. If you're hitting legs more than once a week, I would say as long as it's in one of those workouts of the week, that's important. It's great for hip mobility and strength in that range of motion, because a lot of leg workouts that you see are either doing forward and reverse movements, or they're only doing up and down movements like squats, but very rarely do you see movements in a side to side motion or even any type of rotational movement. And those are all important to get in order to make sure we hit the legs from all angles. So with your lunges, like I said, I really like split lunges, or even like a Bulgarian split lunge where you elevate the rear foot. That in conjunction with a side lunge is a perfect pairing for lunges in your leg day. That Bulgarian split lunge, you're really gonna feel that in your glutes and your hamstrings. Depending on your upper body position, I like to have a little bit more slight forward lean and work on more like a small hip hinge. But again, that's gonna be individualized from person to person. And then the last thing that we'll focus on is gonna be plyometric movements. And those are gonna be movements like your box jumps, your squat jumps, your lunge jumps. Those are super important because those all encourage explosive power and small bursts of output from the muscles, okay? So if you think of like volleyball players, sprinters who do track, football players, those are all great examples of athletes that use those type of exercises in their training. And those type of athletes often have really muscular legs that are large and nice large glutes, right? And the reason is that because their sports require those small bursts of muscle explosion, and so they train to mimic those movements, and that really does force that type of engagement and forces that growth in those areas. I would say this is kind of like a take it or leave it point, is doing your warm-ups, doing glute activation exercises. Now I do have a lot of my clients do lateral walks with a band around their knee. And so you take steps laterally with a straight leg, feet facing forward or toes slightly turned in, and you've got that band around in their thigh area, creating resistance. Great for your hip abductors, so the outside of your hips, okay? Really starts to fire up the glute muscles and get them primed to then do your heavy squats and your hip thrusts and your lunges and things like that. I think that's important because a lot of people tend to be quad dominant, and you might hear people talk about like sleepy glutes. It's not that they can't activate them, but some people have a harder time connecting with them mentally, and doing some of those isolated movements like lateral walks, lateral squat walks, things like that with a band really help a person engage mentally with that muscle, which then leads to greater production out of that muscle when they get into their weighted movements. Like I said, I'm gonna put a workout down below, actually 2 workouts, to give you guys a couple examples of the best way to put those in order and the exercises that I like to use with my clients to get them the best results from their legs, getting them nice lean legs, and adding into their glute growth, because I know that's important for a lot of people. And so I'll have those included in the description down below. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, if you've made it this far and you're still here and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn post notifications on, drop a thumbs up, smash that like button for me. Really means a lot to get your guys' support. Continuing to try to get some information out for you, useful information, useful tips that maybe not a lot of people are reaching out to you about online, things that you may not see everywhere. Some of the stuff probably wasn't the sexiest. Nutrition, not the sexy topic, but definitely necessary. Same thing with mindset. Almost the most important thing is having the right mindset when you get in the gym, and blocking everything out and just knowing that you're there for the right reasons, doing the work, and then seeing the results later. So that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you again for being here, and I will catch you guys at the next video.